Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live with AHCF. I'm Tony Thornhill. I'm your host, fundraising auctioneer, consultant. And right now we're in the middle of a series. We're going to start a series, which we're introducing some of our local nonprofits. Thought it would be a good way, especially during this time of craziness where some of the nonprofits want to make sure that their name stays out there. So today I have a very special friend of mine. He is with Leukemia 24/7. Let's go ahead and bring Trent Darnell. Trent, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Well, let's start out with an easy one. Tell me a little bit about you.
Oh, me, huh? Well, I don't know where you want me to start. I mean, I could start at the very beginning. I was born January 29th. No.
Well, let's do this. Tell me why Leukemia 24/7.
So, yeah, that's a good place. So my friend Todd Zick is the beginning. That's really why I'm a part of this organization and why myself and the three other directors are continuing to work and keep it going. So Todd was diagnosed when he was real young in college, as a matter of fact, with leukemia. So he ended up having to come home from college and got a bone marrow transplant, went through a bunch of treatment, went into remission, ended up having to have another bone marrow transplant. And then he got real sick one winter, and then just did not make it through this one. So he passed away in 2010, unfortunately, and that's kind of where things were left. His mom and dad ran the charity from there on out. So I guess I can go back a little bit from there. So he started the charity because he got diagnosed. And his whole thing was, he said people deal with leukemia 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is why Leukemia 24/7 was the name. It kind of stuck. And how the charity started in 2007 was he wanted to give he wanted to give himself and other people that were dealing with this a better chance at a second chance at life. So he started out doing bone marrow drives. So he did them at Mizzou, he did them at Missouri State, which is where we went to college. He did them at Lafayette, which is where he went to high school, and then a bunch of other places. So his goal was to get as many people on the bone marrow registry as possible. And that's kind of how everything started. And then really from that came our events and everything. So that's the beginning, and why Leukemia 24/7 was started. And, a lot has kind of happened since then. So I'll let you jump in with any questions you might have, because it's a lot. I mean, it's very emotional every year, when it's his birthday and when it's, the date that he passed, and, for his mom and his dad, it's especially hard. So, we just try to keep his legacy alive. And that's kind of why we continue to do what we do.
So it's pretty awesome. I personally knew a little bit about the background on it because we've talked before. But I always find it interesting when someone actually can foresee where he realized that the leukemia was a battle and that other people stuck with this and needed help too. And he started an organization. Do me a favor. Tell me what you think the biggest community thing that Leukemia 24/7 does for our community. Is it awareness? Is it helping those individual patients? What is it that makes Leukemia 24/7 stand out to bring awareness?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's kind of what our focus has been since 2018, is really sort of honing in on our skills and trying to figure out our why. And So 2018 is when myself and then three others, Todd's two cousins, Kyle and Julie, and then Todd and my other friend, Mark, we all became directors. So directorship was turned over from Todd's mom, Barb, and his dad, Doug, to us. So we did we went through legally, got everything changed. And actually before that, we weren't even a nonprofit. We weren't a 501c3. So we went through that process. So now we're a nonprofit 501c3, and all of our documentation, bank account, and everything like that is set up such. So we're in a really good spot as far as how we reestablish ourselves as an organization. So, one of those things in the beginning when we became directors is to figure out that why. And beyond continuing to do the bone marrow drives, which is how the organization started. So that's kind of the backbone of the organization, is continuing to do the drives, continuing to add people to the bone marrow registry, and then really recently we've kind of gotten a little more involved when people get called because they are a match, which is an amazing thing to know that if you add, some of the people that we've added to the bone marrow registry have gone on to save lives. I mean, that's a pretty incredible deal. So DKMS is the one we do. They're the organization that we do the bone marrow registry stuff with. So every time we want to do an event and have them out, we just give them a call. They bring out the kits, and then it's just a simple cheek swab, and you're put on the list. So
really,
that's one thing we do. We wanted to establish pillars of what our focus was. So we wanted a national presence, which we do with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we donate money to them every year. Locally, we work with families and patients through Friends of Kids with Cancer. So that's another pillar. We use Siteman Cancer Research Center, which is local, and they're also known nationally though as well. So that's another pillar. And then DKMS is our bone marrow registry pillar. So that was what we realized what we wanted to do, and really all we do for that is organize events and raise money and then funnel it to our partners.
So let's talk about that. You say you do events.
Yep.
You have events yearly.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this year was a little different with not only your events, but events throughout the area across the country.
Been tough.
Let's talk about your events. What are your top events that you usually have, or that people can look out for in hopefully 2021 and beyond, that helps with your fundraising? What events are they?
So the one sort of the flagship event and how all the fundraising started was Bandana Bash. That was started by Todd. The first one, I mean, you would think I would know this, but I believe the first one was 2008 because they had a couple of them before he passed. And that was always held in the fall. So late September, third week of September-ish. And it was basically, it started out as just a bone marrow drive and a fundraiser to get people there. We did silent auction. They did a live auction one year. They got people from Friends of Kids with Cancer involved, and kind of a mutual friend of both our organization and Friends of Kids used to do a pig roast, and like they'd bring their big RV out, and it became a pretty big fundraising event. Some of those first years raising anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000
Wow.
Over the span of a day or two, and it was just a grassroots thing. It was friends of friends would come and family. So yeah, that's kind of how the fundraising part started. So then after Todd's passing, we continued to do that. I got more and more involved at that point, and so did Mark and his cousins, and Todd's dad, Doug, which we always did Bandana Bash at Zick's Great Outdoors in Wildwood. That was the big parking lot. We were able to put up tents and do the event successfully, and it was big enough to host people over a day or two. Every year after his passing, it would just get harder and harder when that time came, and it was, eventually to the point where he was like, I just don't know if I can do this emotionally anymore. Just
Right.
The time it takes from, not only shutting his business down for a week because you got to set up for it, but just thinking of Todd the whole time, and it just became a lot. So he wanted to get his friends involved. We were getting older and a little more responsible, and he kind of saw that we could maybe handle things. So in 2015, we started the Todd Zick Golf Classic, which is a golf tournament that we have every year now. We just did our 6th year at the beginning of October. So the first year we did that, we didn't do a bandana bash. We just did the golf tournament. I think we had like 72 people play, and
Wow.
With expenses and everything, I think we only raised like $1,000. I mean, it wasn't anything big at all. It was just kind of to start a new event and just
Right.
we had to get the ball rolling with something different. So then, all the people that were involved in that became directors 3 years later. And one of our first things was we want to bring Bandana Bash back. So in 2019, we did Bandana Bash for the first time in 5 years. And we had a lot of success with that. Everybody, from when we shut Bandana Bash down the first time until we brought it back, people were talking about it every year. Like, when are you going to bring Bandana Bash back? The tournament's great, but when is this coming back? So now we have both of those events. Like you said, this year was interesting and different, but we were able to do them successfully, I might add, and still raise a lot of money this year to give to our partners. So
that's fantastic. And what we found out is through this year, we are seeing that people are still giving. They're just giving a little different style.
Exactly.
So I want you to tell me a little bit more about your Bandana Bash, because that's your signature event.
Yep.
How did it get the name Bandana Bash? Where did that come from? Or obviously there's some kind of tie-in to Todd in this case. How did it become Bandana Bash?
So I wasn't involved early on when he started this. I was still at college at the time, or maybe had just moved back, and he was kind of just dealing with all of this with this disease state and everything, and we were all kind of getting out of college, starting work, starting relationships, and moving towards marriage and things like that. So we were all pretty busy. So he kind of just started it. The bandana part, I believe, was they would just wear bandanas around their arms for just as, whether it's a green bandana or an orange bandana for leukemia or whatever it might be. And then working at Zick's Great Outdoors, as landscapers and
right.
Working in landscaping like that, they would just, wear bandanas. So that I think it just kind of became a thing. I don't have a definite answer. I'll come back on a couple episodes later and explain it, but
that's fine.
I think it was one of those things that just, they had to name the event, and
there it went,
and it just stuck, and it works. So the rest is history.
I try not to put you on the spot, but I just thought that's interesting, that the Bandana Bash. So let's go forward just a little bit. You've mentioned it a couple times that one of your key things that you guys do is the bone marrow drives. You say it's simple, the cheek swab, you're done. How many people do you see on a normal one of those blood drives, or marrow drives rather? How many people would you see come through?
Oh man, it depends on when and where you did it, really. So one of the first ones they did was at University of Missouri at I believe a basketball game, and so they were just set up in a corridor, and they did a couple other events there, a couple other drives there besides that, because Julie and Kyle, Todd's cousin, both went to college there at that time, and so they had connections and they did all these drives. I mean, for something like that, it would not be abnormal to add 300 people to the registry.
Wow, that's awesome.
It just depends on the crowd and who all is going to be there, and if it's if you're partnering with somebody to do it, that brings a lot. Your reach then is a lot bigger. So we like to try and do things like that where we know we're going to be we know we're going to do smaller ones here and there, which is fine. I mean, anybody added to the list is great. Like we do it at our golf tournament, and there's maybe 30 people might register, at the golf tournament, or if we do it at Bandana Bash, 100 people might do it.
Right.
It kind of just depends on the situation, really.
So let's take that just a little bit farther. As somebody that's new to the, to the whole process or different things, and I'm hoping that somebody sees this and they think about it. And while I'm asking this question, I'm going to put your guys' website there across the bottom. It's actually going through so people can sign up to donate and volunteer and do different things.
Nice.
After somebody signs up at one of the bone marrow drives and they come back as a match, what does that entail? How does that go forward? And where does Leukemia 24/7 help in that process?
So we're not, if it's somebody that is from a bone marrow drive that we organized, let me just say it's a pretty private deal, actually. So we're not, we don't really get involved on the patient side of things or on the recipient side of things, just because until it's done, the registrant, the match can't really say or do anything about it. They can't say, they don't, and sometimes they don't know exactly who it's going to be, like
right.
We just had one where one of our friends was put on, got swabbed, put on the registry, and he just got matched a couple months ago, and it finally just happened. He flew out to California. Now, and I think you're probably going to ask me about this next, is that process, like what's involved in a bone marrow transplant.
You could read my mind.
But now it used to be pretty invasive. They would take bone marrow normally from your hip, and it's a really, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do as the patient or the match. It's painful, but they've made advances in doing bone marrow transplants, so it can be just as simple as giving blood, really, anymore. I mean, there's a process to it, but I mean, you're set up like you're giving blood. So they can do bone marrow transplants that way as well. And that's not technically bone marrow, but that's another way that matches are able to, to help these people that need, healthy white blood cells. So
is it possible for somebody to match multiple people and go through this process for multiple people, or is it once you match one, you're done?
One and done.
One and done. Okay. So that's why the need.
Match, you're taken off the list.
So that's why the need for more continues. Yep. We need to keep going.
Yeah.
Here in St. Louis, you have quite a few of the hospitals and different things of that nature. Are you partnered with any of them to host your drives, or do you try to do them away from hospitals? Where's a good place? Like if I wanted to help set up a drive for you, where's a good place for me to set it up? Obviously, like I said, the hospitals, but is there someplace better?
Yeah, the hospitals, I think, are, I mean, that's absolutely there's a lot of traffic through hospital. I mean, not right now. There's not people in hospitals right now, but under normal circumstances, any sort of setting, that has high traffic flow, or if it's an event that a ton of people are going to be at. I mean, I'll just give you one example. We didn't get to do it last spring in April because of COVID, but we're hoping to be able to do it this year. So Soccer Park out in Fenton,
right.
They do this event every year, actually a couple of them a year, and it's basically a showcase for kids, like anywhere, I think, from 8 to all the way up to high school, or maybe a little bit into high school.
Right.
Where it's a full day event, and it was going to be on Good Friday this past year. So everybody's pretty much off. and they're at that, they try and set it up where your kid gets to play like 3 games during the day, but they're kind of broken up to where people don't leave. They have the concessions, so they have beer, food, soft drinks, whatever you want. The shop, you can watch other games. I mean, that facility is huge. So a buddy of mine, actually one of my 9-year-old's friends' dads, works out at Soccer Park and is a part of the I believe the Gallagher program. And he knew what I did, called me up, asked if we wanted to come set up a drive out there. And I'm like, sure, yeah. What do you like? What's the traffic like out there? And he said, at any point in the day, there's around 2,000 people here. So
wow,
the possibilities are. I said, so how many kits should we order? And he was like, well, I don't really know how to, what to tell you as far as that goes. He was like 200-300. He was like, I don't know, it could be more than that. Like you could run out. And so you just never know. I mean, it depends on, you'd be surprised how many people are on the bone marrow registry just because of, DKMS is not the only organization that does that. Be
right.
the Match does it. I mean, there's a couple other big ones, domestically that does it, but there's a need for it. And I think there's more and more people are getting out there and helping out with that. So yeah, I mean, if you know of an event where there's going to be 5,000 people, then we're happy to come out.
Right. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So I know that this year you guys had crazy things go on, whatever, but you all went ahead and made that part of your fundraising. Tell me about your mask campaign. I think this is pretty cool. Tell me about that.
So obviously everybody's wearing masks right now. And we just felt like, why not order some for us and then order a bunch of extras for, and just put a campaign up on our website. Just a donation of $25 gets you a mask, and we send you a sticker and a thank you note, and you're helping out, and you get a mask that you can wear, and it's bandana print. Obviously, we were kind of doing it for Bandana Bash, not knowing whether we were going to do it in person or not. So we were kind of wanting to have them for that, if we were able to do it in person, to be able to either give to people for a donation or just hand out. I mean, it comes to a point where, you buy these things to try and raise money, and then now you see how, big of a need there is for masks and wearing masks. And we, so we had a bunch left over for our golf tournament. We ended up just giving them to every player that signed up for our golf tournament. So we got rid of them pretty quick doing that. But, we did have some people come in and go to the website. I mean, that's another focus for us in 2021 is really, cause there is a business side of it, just getting in front of people and how you run things, and, your message to people, and how do you get that to more and more people. And so we really want to step up the marketing and SEO for the website, and just different things like that are super important on the back end. So, but yeah, we got rid of some masks with the donation part, but ended up giving a lot of them out to our players at our golf tournament. There was 170 of those this year, by the way, 100 more than our first year.
Well, that's fantastic. So yeah. Trent, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we get to replay this and people get to learn more about the Leukemia 24/7, what you guys are doing, setting up bone marrow drives, things out there. What's a quick way, if somebody's watching this, what's the best way for somebody to find out more, to learn and donate? That
website you were running across the bottom is it.
Right there.
I mean, follow us on Facebook. We post stuff if we're doing events, and there's a way to get on our kind of our mailing list. We shoot out email blasts when we have events coming up, and but really everything you need to know is through leukemia24-7.com. We've got event pages, so it highlights our golf tournament, it highlights the Bandana Bash. We have information about our partners on there. Pretty much everything you need to know is right there. Facebook is good as well, and that's Leukemia 24-7.
Fantastic.
Facebook. So,
well, again, thank you for taking time.
Thank you, man.
I want to encourage everybody to go out. It's a simple process. Trent's been more than gracious to share with us on multiple times of how we do this. And what I will tell you, and just from listening to you today and listening to you before, Trent has a passion for helping people. And that little act of matching somebody can help somebody that you never know in a way that you can never explain. Is that it?
Yeah.
So I encourage anybody that if you're watching this, if you haven't signed up on the bone marrow registry, if you can't, reach out.
Yep.
Go to that website, sign up, be part of that, or better yet, get some people together and have a drive. They'll be more than happy to come in and help you. On behalf of Trent and myself, I want to thank everybody for coming in. If you're joining us on the replay, go back, watch this. You'll see his website's going across there. Reach out. You can reach out to me at my website. I can get you in touch with them. It's a highercallingfundraising.com. We're here to help. We're raising money, raising awareness, and helping our community. That's what my company does. And it's been a pleasure to be able to share some of the nonprofits in our area starting today. So watch out for more of these. There'll be a lot more coming. Have a great day and be safe. Everybody, have a great night.
See you, Tony. Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Yep.